lock your doors. Not because of what's outside, but because of what might already be inside. Tonight, you're about to hear 4 true horror stories, each one worse than the last. A skinwalker that didn't just watch from the woods, it learned how to get in. A place people call the backrooms, where something followed him and didn't let him leave. A stalker who never got caught because he was always closer than she thought. And a school where something was waiting, long after everyone else had gone home. If you hear something while watching this, don't check. It might be listening too. This is 2 hours of true horror, and you're not supposed to make it to the end. It started with a dog scratching at our front door. My wife thought it needed help. I thought it was lost. It was late, raining, dark outside. No cars, no people, no sound except water hitting the windows. Just that dog standing on our porch, staring into the house. It wasn't barking. It wasn't growling. It wasn't even whining anymore. It just stood there, like it had come to the right place. When I opened the door, it didn't hesitate. It didn't act scared. It didn't back away. It just walked inside. That should have been the first sign. My wife grabbed a towel. I checked the collar. And that's when I realized there was no name, no address, just a phone number. So I called it. Someone answered immediately, but they never said a word. They just breathed. Slow. Heavy. Right into the phone. No hello. No, who is this? No, you found my dog? Just breathing. And for some stupid reason, I gave them our address. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. And standing outside was something pretending to be human. My name is Evan. My wife's name is Maya. And what happened that night still doesn't feel real. We lived in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where nothing ever happened, the kind of street where people left porch lights on and forgot to lock sheds, the kind of place that felt safe mostly because it was boring. That night, Maya and I were in the living room watching some random show neither of us cared about. I was half paying attention. She was curled up on the couch with a blanket over her legs, scrolling on her phone. It was one of those ordinary nights you forget 5 minutes after it happens. And that's the part that still bothers me the most. Nothing felt wrong at first. Nothing warned us. No weird feeling in the air. No power outage. No voice outside, no shadow at the window. Just rain. Then we heard it. Scratch. 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 3 slow drags across the front door. Maya muted the TV and looked at me. Did you hear that? Before I answered, it came again. Scratch. Slower this time. More deliberate. Then a soft little whine from outside. I got up first. Maya followed behind me. When I opened the front door, there was a dog standing on the porch, medium-sized, light brown fur, soaked from the rain, collar around its neck, tail hanging low. It looked tired. Not injured, not starving, not frantic, just wet, still, watching us. There was something strange about the way it looked at us. Not aggressive, not scared, just focused. Like it wasn't asking for help, like it was waiting for permission. Maya crouched a little and said, "Hey, sweetheart." The dog stepped forward. Then, without us having to pull or coax or anything, It crossed the doorway and walked into our house. Maya shut the door behind it. I remember actually laughing a little, not because anything was funny, just because the whole thing felt weird in a normal way. Like, okay, somebody's dog got loose in the rain. That's all this is. Maya went to grab a towel from the closet. I knelt down and turned the collar tag over. No name. No street. No little heart-shaped tag or anything like that. Just a phone number stamped into the metal. And the last 3 digits were 6. 6. 6. I stared at it for longer than I should have. Maya came back and saw my face. What? I held up the tag. She looked at the number and gave this little uncomfortable laugh. That's weird. Yeah. You should call it. I should have said no. I should have waited until morning. I should have taken the dog to a shelter. I should have done literally anything else. Instead, I took out my phone and dialed the number. The line rang once. Then someone picked up. I put it on speaker because something about the silence on the other end made me not want to hold the phone to my ear. Hey, I said. I think we found your dog. No answer. Just breathing. Slow inhale, slow exhale. The kind of breathing that sounds too close, too intentional. Like whoever was on the other end wasn't just breathing normally. They were making sure we heard it. Maya leaned in closer. Hello? Nothing. Just breathing. Steady. Patient. Wrong. I remember forcing a little laugh and saying, "If this is your dog, he's okay. He's at our house." Still nothing. Then Maya mouthed the words, "Hang up." And I should have. But for some reason, I didn't. I told them they could come get him. And then I gave them our address. The breathing stopped. Just instantly. For 1 second, the line was completely silent. Then the call ended. Not with a goodbye, not with a click. Just gone. Maya looked at me. Why would you tell them where we live? I didn't have a good answer. At the time, I still thought there had to be a normal explanation. A creepy owner. A prank. Some weirdo messing with us. Not dangerous. Just strange. The dog walked into the living room and sat down in front of the couch. It didn't pace. It didn't bark. It didn't sniff around. It just sat there, looking toward the front door. Waiting. Then, exactly 10 minutes later, there was a knock. 3 heavy knocks. Slow. Controlled. Nothing rushed about them. No panic. No apology. No, sorry to bother you. Just 3 perfect knocks against the wood. I looked through the narrow glass panel beside the door. There was a man standing on the porch. At least, I thought it was a man. He was tall. Too tall, honestly. Standing perfectly still in the rain. He wasn't hunched over. He wasn't shivering. He wasn't wiping water from his face. He just stood there, looking into the house. Maya came up beside me, took one look at him, and whispered, "Don't let him in." I wish I had listened. I opened the door halfway. The smell hit us first. Wet earth. Mildew. Something old. He wore dark clothes, soaked through, but even that looked wrong somehow. Like the clothes were hanging on him instead of fitting him. His skin looked pale under the porch light. Too pale. His face looked almost normal, but only almost. Like somebody had tried to copy a human face from memory and gotten most of it right. His eyes looked too deep in their sockets. His mouth looked a little too wide. His expression didn't match the rest of him. I said, "Your dog?" He looked past me, into the house, toward the living room. Then he nodded once. Maya said, "We found him outside in the rain." The man slowly turned his head toward her. That movement. I still remember that movement. It was too slow, too deliberate, too smooth. Like turning his head was something he had to think about before doing. Then he smiled. Just a little. Not friendly. Not relieved. Just enough to show us that he could. I stepped aside. "Come in." Maya looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But it was too late. The man stepped into our house. He passed between us, and I swear the temperature dropped. Not by a little, by enough that I felt it in my teeth. The dog stood up when he came in, but it didn't run to him. It didn't wag its tail. It didn't act happy. It just stood there, still, watching him. Watching us. Maya asked, "What's his name?" The man looked down at the dog, then back at her, and said, "It changes." His voice sounded dry, like the words hurt coming out. Maya and I looked at each other. The dog took a few slow steps toward him. The man bent down and rested one hand on its head. The dog flinched. Just once. Tiny. Fast. But it flinched. That was the moment I stopped thinking this was just some creepy guy. There was something else going on. The man started looking around the house. Not casually, not like a guest. Like he was measuring the rooms. The hallway. The staircase. The kitchen doorway. The ceiling. Maya took a step back. "You can take him now." The man didn't answer. The dog turned and started walking toward the kitchen. The man followed it. I said, "Hey." He didn't stop. By the time Maya and I reached the kitchen doorway, both of them were standing near the back door. The dog sat in the middle of the tile. The man stood by the glass, looking at his own reflection in the dark window. Then he lifted one hand and pressed his palm flat against the glass. He whispered something too low for us to hear. And when Maya blinked, he was gone. Not stepped away, not moved out of sight. Gone. The space by the back door was empty. The dog was gone too. No running paws, no door opening, no sound. Just an empty kitchen. I remember saying, "What the hell?" over and over. Like saying it enough times would make the room behave normally again. Maya backed into the doorway. "We need to leave." I checked outside. Deck, backyard, side gate, nothing. Then we searched the whole house, every room, every closet, the basement, the garage, the shower, under the beds. Nothing. No man, no dog, no sign that anyone had been there at all. Except the front hallway still had a few drying paw prints on the floor. That was it. By then it was after 1 in the morning. We stood in our bedroom with every light on, both pretending we were calmer than we were. Maya still had her keys in one hand. She said, "I'm not staying here." I said, "There has to be an explanation." Even as I said it, I didn't believe it. Then something on her nightstand started crackling. We both turned. There was an old baby monitor sitting there. It didn't belong to us. The previous owners had left it in a box in the closet, and Maya had set it out earlier that week, meaning to toss it. Neither of us had turned it on. But now its little screen was glowing. Static hissed from the speaker. Then, beneath the static, breathing. The same breathing from the phone. Slow. Close. Right there in the room with us. Maya whispered, "Turn it off." I grabbed it and hit the power button. The screen went black. And then, from somewhere down the hallway, we heard it. Click. 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 Soft little taps against the hardwood, like dog nails, moving slowly, just outside the bedroom, then stopping. Neither of us moved. I grabbed the baseball bat from the closet. Maya said, "No." I said, "I'm checking." She followed me anyway. The upstairs hallway was bright, empty, perfectly normal. Bathroom, empty. Guest room, empty. Office, empty. Then I reached the top of the stairs and realized the downstairs lights were off. I was sure we'd left the lamp on in the living room. We stood there listening. And then we heard breathing again. From downstairs. From the living room. I told Maya to stay back. She didn't. We went down together. Halfway down the stairs, I saw something crouched behind the couch. Too tall to be the dog. Too low to be standing. Its back rose just above the couch cushions. Pale. Still. I lifted the bat. Its head turned slightly. Not enough to show a face. Just enough to show it knew we were there. Then it dropped lower and disappeared behind the couch. I ran around the side, and there was nothing there. Nothing. Empty rug, empty floor, empty room. Then the front door creaked. We both spun around. It was still shut. Still locked. That's when Maya said, "We are leaving. Right now." And this time, I didn't argue. We grabbed our phones, keys, shoes, nothing else. She unlocked the front door, reached for the chain, and a face slid into view through the glass panel beside it. That same pale face. Smiling. Standing inches from the glass. Maya screamed. I pulled her away from the door and dragged her toward the kitchen. "Back door." I yanked it open, and we ran onto the deck into the rain. We hit the yard, and I looked back once. The kitchen light was on. And standing in the open back doorway was the dog. Just the dog. Perfectly still. Watching us. Then beside it, from the darkness inside our kitchen, a pale hand slowly wrapped around the door frame. We got in the car and drove. Didn't pack, didn't call anyone first, didn't care. We just drove. We spent the next hour in the parking lot of a gas station because it was bright and public, and we didn't know what else to do. Maya called the police. 2 officers checked the house. They found nothing. No intruder, no dog, no broken locks, no sign of anyone hiding anywhere. They took a report, gave us the usual advice, asked if maybe someone was pranking us. Maya barely held it together until they left. We didn't sleep at the house that night. We got a motel room instead. The next morning, Maya woke me up shaking. Her phone screen lit up the room. 1 voicemail from an unknown number. The number ended in 666. We listened to it on speaker. There were no words, just breathing. 20-something seconds of it, then 1 wet clicking sound near the end, like someone pressing their tongue against their teeth. That was it. We went back home later that morning because daylight makes people stupid. It makes you think darkness was the whole problem. The house looked normal again. Too normal. The kind of normal that starts to make you doubt your own memory. But the smell was still there. Wet earth, mildew, something old and damp in the walls. I spent the whole day installing cameras. Front door, back door, living room, hallway, stairs, kitchen. I told Maya it was just to be safe. Really, I needed proof. That night, we stayed. We shouldn't have, but I was stubborn, and Maya didn't want to be driven out of our own house by something she couldn't explain. So we locked every door, left lights on, kept the camera monitor near the bed. The first few hours were quiet. Too quiet. Around 1 in the morning, the hallway camera flickered. Static rippled across the screen. Then, for 1 frame, 1 single frame, there was a pale face hanging upside down from the ceiling corner outside our bedroom, smiling at the camera. Then the screen cleared. Empty hallway. Maya grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. "Did you see that?" I said yes. I opened the bedroom door and checked. Nothing there. Not on the ceiling, not in the hall, not anywhere. When I came back into the room, the living room feed flickered. The dog was standing in the middle of the room facing the camera. Still wet, still staring. Then the screen glitched again. Gone. I ran downstairs. The room was empty. But the front door was open 3 inches. I know I locked it. I know I did. I shut it, locked it again. Then from somewhere outside near the side yard, I heard paws running through wet grass. And then this horrible sound, like laughter trying to pretend to be human. That night, we locked ourselves in the bedroom. At 2:27 in the morning, breathing started outside the door. Slow, steady, close enough that it sounded like whoever was making it had their face pressed against the wood. Then came 3 little scratches near the bottom, like a dog asking to come in. Maya started crying. I stood there with the bat and couldn't move. Then a voice came from the hallway. Maya's voice. Perfectly. "Evan?" Both of us looked at each other. Maya hadn't spoken. From the other side of the door, her voice came again. "Open the door." The words were right. The tone was almost right, but the rhythm was wrong. Tiny pauses in the middle, like something had learned speech by listening to it, not by living it. Then it used My voice. Then another voice. Then laughter. Then breathing again. By morning, there were 3 long, muddy streaks near the bottom of the bedroom door. Not paw marks. Finger marks. We should have left then. Permanently. But fear doesn't always make people smart. Sometimes it makes them cling harder to routine. The next few days were worse. The cameras kept catching things. A pale arm hanging down into the stairwell for half a second. The dog standing in the kitchen at 3:11 in the morning, looking up at the ceiling like something was moving above it. The man on the porch at 2 a.m. staring directly into the camera for 42 minutes without moving. No blinking, no shifting weight, no change in expression. Just standing there. Smiling. And near the end of that recording, the dog stepped into frame beside him. Then another shape crouched low beside the dog. Not fully lit, not fully visible. Just enough to know it wasn't another dog. Maya stopped sleeping. She started hearing things during the day. Footsteps upstairs when she was alone. Clicking on the hardwood in empty rooms. Movement above the ceiling. One afternoon, she was in the kitchen making coffee when she saw the man standing behind her in the microwave reflection. She turned around. Nothing there. That same day, she found the dog's collar on our kitchen table. We had never kept the collar. I know that sounds like a small detail, but I need you to understand. We did not keep that collar. Neither of us brought it home. Neither of us touched it after that first night. But there it was. Damp, muddy, sitting in the middle of the table. I flipped the tag over. On the back, scratched into the metal, were words. Not yours yet. Maya asked me what it meant. I told her I didn't know. But I think both of us understood the feeling of it before we understood the words. Like something had started a process. Like we weren't done. That night, the house changed. Not physically, just in the way it felt. The hallway seemed longer. The ceilings felt higher. Rooms looked darker than they should have. At 12:32, every camera shut off at once. The monitor screen went black. Then, from directly above our bed, came scratching. Slow circles on the ceiling. There was no crawl space above that room, just roof. The scratching moved, stopped. Then, right above us, through the ceiling, I heard my own voice whisper, "Let me in." Maya screamed. We ran out of the bedroom. Something heavy moved above us. The ceiling in the hallway cracked. Plaster dust drifted down. We ran downstairs. I went for the front door. And when I opened the living room, the front window shattered inward. Glass everywhere. Wind and night air rushing in. And in the middle of the broken glass sat the dog. Just sitting there, watching us. Then it opened its mouth, and a man's voice came out. "Come outside." I grabbed Maya and pulled her toward the basement. The front door no longer felt like an exit. Nothing did. We slammed the basement door behind us and locked it. The basement was unfinished concrete and exposed beams and old storage shelves. One bare bulb swinging from the ceiling. We stood down there shaking, listening to movement above us. Pause. Footsteps. Dragging sounds. Then silence. Then
3 scratches on the basement door. Very soft. I don't know why my eyes landed on the old metal shelf in the corner. Maybe panic makes you notice anything that looks like an option. Behind it was an old hatch the previous owners had mentioned once, an old crawl tunnel sealed off years ago. I moved the shelf, pulled the hatch open. Cold air came out. A dirt tunnel, narrow, dark. Maya said no immediately. Then the basement door thudded once upstairs, like something had leaned its full weight against it. We got into the tunnel, crawling on our hands and knees through dirt and cold air and total darkness except for my phone light.
Behind us, somewhere back in the basement, we heard the door open. Not crash, not splinter, just open. Then a sound that still makes me sick to remember. A dog panting. Very close. And behind that, a man breathing, following us into the dark. We crawled faster. The tunnel narrowed, turned once, then widened near a rusted grate. I kicked it. Once, twice, 3 times. It gave way and fell out into the yard. We crawled out into wet grass behind the hedges. Maya rolled onto her back, gasping. Then she looked up at the house. I followed her eyes. The upstairs bedroom window was lit. The man was standing behind the glass, smiling down at us. And behind him, the dog paced in slow circles. I pulled Maya up and we ran. Through the side yard, past the neighbor's fence, down the block, barely looking back. We never slept there again. Police came. Reports got filed. People asked questions. They found the broken window, the open hatch, animal tracks in the living room. But no man, no dog, no explanation. The camera system was mostly corrupted. Only one clip survived. 21 seconds from the living room camera. It showed Maya and me running toward the kitchen. Then the image darkened, and a pale face lowered into view upside down from above the camera, smiling directly into the lens. Beside it, pressed close enough to share the frame, was the dog. Its mouth stretched too wide, and it looked like it was smiling too. We moved out. Not right away in some dramatic rush. Life doesn't work like that. It turned into paperwork, insurance, temporary clothes, staying with family, not knowing what to say when people asked why. Eventually, we got an apartment across town. Small place, 3rd floor, different locks, different street, different everything. We told ourselves it had been attached to the house somehow, something old there, something that belonged there, something we had escaped by leaving. That lie helped for a while. Months passed. Then almost a year. Long enough for sleep to come easier. Long enough for Maya to stop checking corners of every room. Long enough for me to go a day without thinking about the breathing. Then, one night in October, Maya came home from work and called me before I even picked up. The second I answered, I knew from her voice that something was wrong. She was standing outside our apartment door. On the carpet in the hallway, just outside the frame, was a muddy paw print. Just one. And leaning against the baseboard beside it was a metal tag. The same dog collar tag. Same number. When she turned it over, there were words scratched into the back. Not your house. She said my name once, quietly. Then, from the other side of our apartment door, came a soft scratch. Then another.
Then a low, familiar whine. She backed away from the door.
I was already leaving work, already running, already knowing. When I got there, Maya was at the far end of the hallway, crying and shaking, unable to get close to the apartment again. I walked toward the door. Every step felt wrong. Like the hallway was stretching, like the air was getting colder. The muddy paw print was still there. The tag was still there. And from the other side of the door, I heard breathing. Slow, steady, waiting. Then a man's voice spoke through the door. Softly, clearly, "Let me in." I froze. Behind me, Maya whispered, "No." Then came a second voice, her voice, from inside the apartment. "Evan?" And that was the moment we understood. Not in some vague, scared way, not as a theory. We understood. Whatever came to our house that night never belonged to the house. It came because we let it in. First the dog, then the voice on the phone, then the man at the door. And after that, it didn't need the house anymore. It just needed us. We left that hallway. We left the building. We never opened that door again. People can call that crazy. They can say fear got to us, that stress made us hear things, that someone was playing a game. Maybe. But I know what I heard. And I know what Maya heard. And some nights, even now, even after another move, even after changing numbers, even after trying not to think about it at all, I still wake up to the sound of scratching. Not loud, just 3 slow drags at the front door. Then silence. Then a dog whining softly on the other side. And if I hold my breath long enough, I can hear something else behind it. A second sound. A man standing just beyond the door. Breathing. Waiting for us to make the same mistake twice. And we never, ever check the peephole anymore. Because deep down, I think we both know exactly what would be standing there. Imagine if you stayed late at school one night. Just you and your friends. No teachers, no lights, no noise. At first, it feels normal. Just empty hallways, lockers, that quiet echo every school has after dark. But then, you hear something. Not footsteps, not voices. Something above you. A soft scrape. A shift in the ceiling tiles. And the worst part? It sounds like it's following you. Every step you take, it takes one too. So imagine this. You look up for just a second, and something up there looks back. Tonight, we're going to tell a story about a group of friends who decided to stay overnight at their school and discovered they weren't alone. We stayed overnight at school. Something was living in the ceiling. Nobody believed the missing kid story. That was the whole reason we did it. The school had been talking about it for months. 3 kids from another grade had disappeared after staying late for some overnight challenge they were filming. Teachers said it was fake. Parents said not to talk about it. The principal sent out an email saying the rumors were harmful and exaggerated. But the weird part was, nobody ever explained where those kids went. No transfer announcement, no news update, no goodbye posts. Just gone. And after that, the school changed. The janitors stopped staying past 5. Certain hallways got locked. The ceiling tiles in the old science wing were replaced overnight. And every morning,
There would be fresh scratches on the walls near the lockers. So, obviously, we decided to sneak in and stay overnight. There were 4 of us: me, Jaden, Chris, and Nolan. Jaden was the one with the camera. He wanted to make a video called Overnight School Challenge Where Kids Went Missing. Chris only came because he thought it would get views. Nolan didn't even want to be there. And me? I just didn't want to be the one who stayed home. That was my first mistake. We got in through the back gym doors at 11:43 p.m. Jaden said he knew they didn't lock properly if you pulled the left one hard enough. He was right. The door opened with this loud metal pop that echoed down the hallway. For a second, nobody moved. We just stood there, half inside the school, listening. Nothing. No alarm, no footsteps, no teachers. Just the quiet buzz of emergency lights and that weird school smell. Floor wax, dust, old paper, and something else. Something damp, like wet cardboard left in a basement. Jaden lifted the camera and whispered, "Yo, we're in." Chris smiled and threw up a peace sign. Nolan looked behind us and said, "Can we not be loud?" Jaden laughed. "Bro, there's nobody here." That's when we heard the first sound. Not loud, not scary, just a tiny click above us. We all looked up. The ceiling was made of those square white tiles, the ones that looked like they'd break if you poked them too hard. One tile near the hallway corner shifted, just a little. Jaden zoomed in. "Probably the air system," Chris said. But the vents weren't on. There was no air moving, no heat, no fan, nothing. Just that tile, settling back into place. We should have left right then. The plan was simple. We'd stay until 5 a.m., record in the cafeteria, gym, library, and the old science wing where the missing kids were last seen. Jaden had snacks, flashlights, 2 battery packs, and a Bluetooth speaker. Chris had a backpack full of energy drinks. Nolan had nothing except his phone and the worst attitude imaginable. He kept saying, "This isn't even funny. We're gonna get suspended." Jaden turned the camera on him. "Bro, you scared?" Nolan didn't answer. He just looked up at the ceiling again. That made all of us look up too. Nothing was there. But the hallway suddenly felt smaller, like the ceiling was lower than it used to be. We started in the cafeteria. It was the least scary place, so Jaden wanted to warm up the audience. He set the camera on one of the tables and started doing the intro. "What's up, guys? Tonight we are locked inside." A loud bang came from somewhere above us. Jaden stopped talking. Chris laughed way too fast. "Yo, that was perfect." Nolan whispered, "That came from the ceiling." Jaden picked up the camera and pointed it up. The cafeteria ceiling was higher than the hallway ceiling. Big pipes, vents, lights, and metal beams crossed over each other. At first, we didn't see anything. Then we heard it again. Bang! Then a scrape. Slow, dragging, like something heavy being pulled across metal. Jaden whispered, "Okay, that was actually weird." Chris grabbed a chair and stood on it. "What are you doing?" Nolan snapped. Chris reached toward one of the ceiling vents. "I'm checking." "Don't touch it." Chris ignored him. He pushed the vent cover with 2 fingers. It didn't move. Then something on the other side pushed back. Chris fell off the chair. Not jumped, fell. Like his whole body forgot how to work. The chair slid across the floor and slammed into a table. Jaden started laughing because he thought Chris was messing around. But Chris wasn't laughing. He was staring at the vent. His face had gone pale. "What?" I asked. Chris swallowed. "There's someone up there." Nobody said anything. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down. His face changed again. "What is it?" Jaden asked. Chris turned his phone toward us. It was a message from an unknown number. It said, "Don't look into the ceiling." We all stared at it. Jaden whispered, "Is this one of you?" Nobody answered. Then all four of our phones buzzed at the same time. Same message. Don't look into the ceiling. That's when Nolan said he was done. He started walking toward the gym doors. Jaden followed him with the camera. "Bro, don't leave now. This is literally the best part." Nolan spun around. "No, this is stupid. Someone knows we're here." Chris nodded. "Yeah, maybe security." But security doesn't text you from an unknown number, and security doesn't hide in vents. Still, we followed Nolan. None of us wanted to admit it, but we all wanted to leave. The back gym doors were at the end of the hall.
I could see them. Two metal doors with tiny square windows. Outside was darkness, but at least it was outside. Nolan grabbed the handle and pulled. Nothing. He pulled again, harder. The door didn't move. Jaden tried the other one. Locked. Chris said, "Maybe you have to push." "Bro, obviously I tried that," Nolan snapped. Then a voice came from the school speakers. Not the normal announcement voice, not clear. It crackled and popped like the speakers were broken. Then it said, "Students are not permitted in the halls after midnight." We froze. The speaker hissed. Then the voice came back. "Return to your classroom." Jaden whispered, "What classroom?" The lights flickered. Once, twice. Then every light in the hallway shut off. For 3 seconds we were standing in complete darkness, and above us, something moved. Fast. Not walking, not crawling normally. It was like nails tapping across the ceiling tiles. Tick, 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 tick. Right over our heads. Chris whispered, "Run." The lights came back on. We ran. Not toward the doors, away from them, back into the school. The sound followed us through the ceiling. Every few steps a tile would shift above us. One lifted, another cracked. Dust fell onto my hoodie. Jaden kept the camera running even while sprinting. I heard him breathing into the mic. Chris was yelling, "Where do we go?" Nolan pointed to a classroom. "In there." We shoved the door open and rushed inside. Nolan closed it as quietly as he could. We all ducked behind the teacher's desk. For a minute, nobody said a word. The room was dark except for the red exit sign outside leaking through the little window in the door. Then the ceiling above the classroom creaked, slowly. One tile bowed downward, like something was pressing its weight onto it. Chris covered his mouth. Jaden lifted the camera. Nolan pushed it down and mouthed, "Stop." The tile bent lower, lower, then stopped. And from above the ceiling, we heard a sound. Breathing. Wet. Slow. Right above us. My phone buzzed. I almost dropped it. Another unknown message. It hears whispers. None of us moved. The breathing above us stopped. For a second, I thought it had left. Then Chris's energy drink can rolled out of his backpack. It hit the floor. Tiny sound. Barely anything. But the thing in the ceiling heard it. The tile exploded downward. Not fully, just enough for one arm to slip through. Long, gray, too thin. The hand opened and closed in the air, feeling around. The fingers were stretched out and crooked, bending at strange angles. Jaden made this tiny choking sound. The hand froze. Then slowly, it turned toward us. Not the body, just the hand. Like it knew where the sound came from. Nolan grabbed the can and threw it across the room. It hit the wall. The hand snapped toward the sound. Then the whole ceiling started shaking. "Go!" Nolan yelled. We ran for the door. Behind us, ceiling tiles crashed onto the desks. Something huge moved above the classroom. We burst into the hallway and sprinted toward the stairwell. The speakers crackled again. "Students are not permitted to run." Chris screamed, "Shut up!" The second he yelled, the ceiling above him split open. Not enough to fall through, enough for a face to press between the tiles. I only saw it for half a second. Long mouth, no hair, eyes too wide, and a smile that didn't fit its face. Then it vanished back into the ceiling. Chris didn't see it, but I did, and Jaden's camera did too. We made it to the second floor. That was the old wing. Nobody used it anymore except for storage and some science rooms. The air changed up there. Colder, damp. The smell was worse. Wet cardboard, rust. Something rotten but not strong enough to identify. Nolan whispered, "This is where they went missing." Jaden stared at him. "What?" "The kids. This hallway." Chris looked like he might cry. "You're telling us that now?" "I didn't think we'd actually come up here." The hallway was lined with old lockers. Most were empty. Some were chained shut. At the far end was the science room, room 217. The door had yellow caution tape across it, but it was old and peeling. Jaden slowly lifted the camera. "Guys?" On the door, someone had scratched words into the wood. Not written, scratched. "Do not open if you hear them above you." We all looked up. Nothing. No movement, no breathing, no tapping. For the first time in 10 minutes, the ceiling was completely silent. That somehow made it worse. Jaden reached for the door. Nolan grabbed his wrist. "Don't." Jaden whispered, "The video needs an ending." Nolan said, "The video is over." Then from inside room 217, someone knocked. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Chris whispered, "Nope." Then a voice came from inside, a kid's voice. "Help us." Nobody moved. The voice came again. "Please, it's gone." Nolan's eyes filled with fear. "That's one of them." "What?" I whispered. "One of the missing kids." Jaden stepped closer to the door. "Are you serious?" Nolan nodded. I heard his voice in the videos people posted before everything got deleted. From inside the room, the kid cried, "Please, open the door." Chris whispered, "What if they're alive?" That was the worst part, because for 1 second, we actually thought we could help. Jaden grabbed the caution tape and ripped it off. Nolan said, "Wait." Jaden opened the door. The room was empty. No kid, no desks, no teacher's desk. Just broken ceiling tiles all over the floor. And on the back wall, there were names, scratched into the paint. Dozens of them, some old, some fresh. And near the bottom were the names of the 3 missing kids. But beside each name was the same word, taken. Then the door slammed shut behind us. The lights in room 217 turned on by themselves. Not fully. They flickered in that horrible buzzing way. Jaden pointed the camera around the room. The ceiling in there was different. Most of the tiles were missing. Above us was a dark, open space filled with pipes and wires, like the whole room had been opened up from the inside. Chris was breathing too loudly. Nolan kept telling him to stop. Then we heard the kid's voice again, but this time it came from above us. "Help us!" Jaden aimed the camera up. Something moved behind the pipes. Then another voice, a girl this time. "It copies us." Then another. "Don't answer." Then all the voices came together.
dozens of them, whispering from the ceiling. "Don't answer. Don't look. Don't run. Don't scream." Chris backed toward the door. The handle wouldn't turn. Nolan helped him pull.
Still locked. Jaden whispered,
"There's another door."
At the back of the room was a storage closet. Inside, there was a smaller door, maybe connected to the prep room. We moved toward it, slowly, trying not to make sound. Then, something dripped onto my hand, warm. I looked down. A dark drop slid across my skin. I looked up before I could stop myself. There was a face between the pipes. Not hanging, watching. It was upside down. Its eyes were open so wide they barely looked real, and its mouth slowly stretched into that same smile. My phone buzzed. I looked down. You looked. The thing dropped, not all the way, just enough for its arms to hit the floor first. Then it pulled itself back up into the ceiling like it was teasing us. Chris screamed. The whole ceiling answered, every tile, every pipe, every vent. Something was moving everywhere at once. Nolan kicked the storage door open. We ran through. The prep room was small and dark. Glass cabinets lined the walls. Old equipment, dusty jars, broken posters. Jaden slammed the door behind us. There was another exit on the far side, but before we could reach it, we heard a sound from inside the cabinets. Tap, tap, tap. Chris pointed. Inside one of the glass cabinets was a phone, screen glowing, recording. Jaden slowly opened it. The phone was old, cracked, still filming. On the screen was a video, 3 kids standing in the same room, whispering, terrified. One of them said, "It lives above the 2nd floor." Another said, "It gets in through the ceiling." The 3rd kid looked directly into the camera and said, "If you hear our voices, don't trust them." Then something above them moved. The video cut to black. Jaden's hands were shaking. "This is real." Nolan stared at him. "Yeah, no kidding." Then the phone screen changed. The camera flipped to live view. It was showing us, all 4 of us in the prep room, but from above, like something in the ceiling was filming us. Chris whispered, "How is it doing that?" On the phone screen, the ceiling tile above Chris slowly moved, but when we looked up in real life, it hadn't moved yet. The phone was showing what was about to happen. I grabbed Chris and pulled him away. A second later, the tile crashed down exactly where he had been standing. A long arm reached through and slapped against the floor. The fingers dragged across the tile, searching. Jaden yelled, "Back door!" We ran through the second exit and into another hallway. This one had no lights at all, only our phone flashlights. Behind us, the thing crawled through the ceiling, fast now, not hiding anymore. We could hear its body scraping across the tiles above us. Chris was sobbing. Jaden kept saying, "Keep moving, keep moving." Nolan grabbed my sleeve and pointed ahead. The main stairs. If we got down to the 1st floor, maybe we could break a window. Maybe the doors were only locked from inside the system. Maybe somebody would hear us. Maybe. We reached the stairs. Then the speakers turned on. Leaving early is not permitted. The stairwell door slammed shut by itself. Nolan slammed into it. Locked. Behind us, the ceiling went silent. Jaden whispered, "Why did it stop?" Then Chris looked down the hallway. At the far end, a ceiling tile lifted. A head slowly lowered out, upside down, watching us. Then another head lowered beside it, then another. But they weren't different monsters. They were copies. Faces of the missing kids. Faces from old yearbook photos. Faces stretched over the same wrong smile. And then one of them spoke in Chris's voice. "Guys, wait for me." Chris started shaking. "That's not me." Another voice spoke in Nolan's voice. "Open the door." Then mine. "Come closer." Jaden whispered, "It copies voices." Nolan said, "No, it collects them." We ran the other way. No plan, no direction, just away from the voices. We ended up in the library. The door was open. We rushed inside and pushed a table against it. For a few minutes, there was nothing. No speakers, no footsteps, no ceiling sounds. Just us, hiding between bookshelves, trying not to fall apart. Jaden checked his camera. The battery was almost dead. Chris said, "Delete the footage." Jaden looked at him like he was insane. "That's proof." Chris snapped. "Proof for who? We're not getting out." Nolan told him to shut up. Chris stood up. "I'm done listening to you." The second his voice got loud, something tapped above him. We all froze. Chris covered his mouth. Too late. The ceiling tile above the library entrance lifted. A hand appeared. Then another. The monster didn't drop. It slowly crawled out across the ceiling, upside down. Its body was thin and folded wrong, like it had been living in tight spaces for too long. Its head turned toward Chris. It didn't move fast. It didn't need to. Chris backed away. "Don't run," Nolan whispered. Chris ran. The monster crossed the ceiling in a blur. Bookshelves shook. The lights flickered. Chris made it behind the front desk. Then everything went quiet. "Chris?" I whispered. No answer. Jaden aimed the camera toward the desk. Chris slowly stood up. For 1 second, I felt relief. Then he smiled. That same stretched smile. Nolan whispered, "No." Chris tilted his head. Not like Chris, like something wearing him badly. Then he said, in the missing kid's voice, "Return to your classroom." We ran. Now there were 3 of us, me, Jaden, and Nolan. We didn't know what happened to Chris. We didn't know if he was gone, hiding, or something worse. And we didn't stop to find out. We made it to the gym. Big space, high ceiling, no tiles. That was Nolan's idea. If it lives in the ceiling, we go where there's no ceiling tiles. For a second, it felt smart, safe. The gym was open and dark, with moonlight coming through the high windows. Jaden's camera finally died. He threw it in his backpack and pulled out his phone. "We still have to record." Nolan shoved him. "Are you serious?" Jaden shoved him back. "This can't be for nothing." Then the basketball net moved, just slightly. The chains rattled. We all looked up. The gym didn't have ceiling tiles, but it had rafters, high metal beams, and something was crouched on one of them, watching. It had been above us the whole time. Jaden whispered, "No." The thing dropped onto the top of the basketball hoop, then climbed down the wall like an insect, not rushing, not hiding, just showing us it could. The speakers crackled. But this time the voice didn't come from the speakers. It came from the monster, in Chris's voice. "Guys, it's safe." Nolan picked up a dodgeball and threw it. It hit the monster in the shoulder. The thing stopped smiling. Then every exit door in the gym slammed shut at once. Jaden whispered, "You made it mad." The monster dropped to the floor. We ran for the locker rooms. Nolan got there first. Jaden followed. I was last. Right before I got through the door, something grabbed my backpack. I slipped out of it and fell forward into the locker room. Nolan slammed the door shut. Something hit the other side, hard. Then again. Then it stopped. My backpack was gone. So was Jaden's phone. We were in the dark now with only Nolan's flashlight. The locker rooms smelled like rust and old water. There was another exit near the showers. Nolan pointed. That leads to the pool hallway. Jaden looked at me. The pool doors have windows. We could break them. Finally, a real way out. The pool hallway was colder than the rest of the school. Our footsteps echoed too much. At the end were glass doors leading outside. Locked, obviously, but glass. Jaden grabbed a metal sign from the wall. He swung it into the door. Crack. Again. Crack. Again. The glass started to break. Then the speaker above us clicked on. "Vandalism is not permitted," Nolan screamed. "We don't care!" The ceiling above the hallway opened. Not one tile, all of them. Like something had been waiting behind every single square. Jaden swung again. The glass shattered. Cold night air rushed in. I could see outside. Freedom. Nolan climbed through first, then me. Jaden turned back. His camera bag was still on him. He reached for it like he was checking the footage. That 1 second cost him. A hand dropped from the ceiling and grabbed the strap. Jaden screamed, "Help me!" Nolan and I grabbed his arms. We pulled. The thing pulled back. Jaden's face was inches from mine. He was crying. "Don't let go." We didn't. But then the monster spoke, in Jaden's own voice, from the ceiling. "Don't let go." Then another voice, Chris. "Pull harder." Then the missing kids, all whispering at once. "Stay, stay, stay." Jaden's backpack strap snapped. He fell through the broken door with us. The three of us hit the pavement outside. We were out. We were actually out. Imagine waking up somewhere you've never been before. Not in a room, not outside, not in a dream. Somewhere that feels like it was made to look familiar, but wasn't made for people. The first thing I remember was the sound. That low buzzing. Constant. Electric. Like fluorescent lights humming directly inside my skull. I didn't open my eyes right away. I just lay there, face pressed against damp carpet, breathing in this old, wet, dusty smell, like an office building after a flood. For a few seconds, I thought I had passed out somewhere, maybe a basement, maybe some abandoned building. Then I opened my eyes, and everything was yellow. The walls, the carpet, the ceiling, even the light looked yellow. I pushed myself up slowly. My head hurt. My mouth was dry. "Hello?" My voice echoed down the hallway, but the echo sounded wrong. It didn't bounce back like it should. It stretched, like something far away had heard me and whispered it back. I stood up. In front of me was a hallway. Behind me was another hallway. To my left, another hallway. To my right, another hallway. No doors, no windows, no signs. Just yellow walls and buzzing lights. I remember turning in a full circle, slowly, trying to understand where I was, trying to find anything that made sense. A desk, a chair, a stairwell, a bathroom, anything. But there was nothing. Just carpet, walls, lights, corners, and silence underneath the buzzing. The kind of silence that makes you afraid to breathe too loud. I reached into my pocket for my phone. It was there. For 1 second, I felt relief. Then I turned it on. No signal. No Wi-Fi. Battery at 13%. I tried calling 911 anyway. The call didn't fail. It didn't connect either. It just rang and rang and rang. But the ringing wasn't coming from my phone. It was coming from somewhere down the hallway. I lowered the phone from my ear. The ringing kept going. Far away, around a corner. I didn't move. I just stared. Then the ringing stopped. My phone screen went black. And from somewhere deep in the hall, I heard a sound. A footstep. Just one. Then nothing. I told myself it was the building settling, even though nothing about that place felt like a building. I started walking, slow at first, then faster. Every corner looked exactly the same. Every hallway was the same length until it wasn't. Some stretched farther than they should. Some turned into dead ends. Some led me right back to places I was sure I had already passed. I tried marking the wall with my fingernail. The wallpaper peeled easily. Underneath it was more yellow. Not drywall. Not concrete. Just more yellow. Like the walls went on forever. After a while, I started talking to myself. Not because I wanted to, because the silence was worse. "My name is Ethan. I'm 17. I was walking home. I don't know how I got here. I'm going to find a way out." I repeated it over and over, like if I kept saying it, I wouldn't forget who I was. Then I heard another voice, very quiet, very far. "Hello?"
I froze. My whole body locked up. For a second, I thought it was my echo. Then it came again. Is someone there? It wasn't my voice. It was another person. A real person. I ran toward it. Around one corner, then another, then another. "Hey!" I shouted. "I'm here!" My voice cracked when I said it. I didn't care. I just needed someone else to be real. Then I turned the corner and saw him. A guy standing at the end of the hallway. Hoodie, dark hair, backpack hanging off one shoulder. He looked exhausted, but alive. For a second, neither of us moved. Then he raised one hand. "Don't run," he said. I stopped. "Why?" He looked behind me, then back at me. His face changed. "Because it hears running." "What does?" He didn't answer. He just walked toward me quickly and grabbed my wrist. "Come on." I pulled back. "Wait, who are you?" "Daniel," he said. Then he looked over my shoulder again and whispered, "We have to move." That was the first time I heard it. Not footsteps, not breathing, dragging. Something heavy sliding across the carpet, far behind us. Slow, steady. Daniel's grip tightened around my wrist. "Don't look back." But I did. Of course I did. At the end of the hallway, standing halfway in the light, was something tall. Too tall. Its head almost touched the ceiling tiles. Its arms hung down past its knees, and its body looked wrong. Like a person stretched too far. It wasn't running. It wasn't even walking fast. It was just coming. One slow step at a time. Like it already knew how this ended. Daniel yanked me around the corner. "Move." We didn't sprint. Not at first. Daniel kept us moving fast but quiet. Every time my shoes hit the wet carpet too hard, he shot me a look. "Light steps," he whispered. I tried, but my legs were shaking. Behind us, the dragging sound continued. Sometimes close, sometimes far, but always there. Like it wasn't following our path, like it already knew where we were going. Daniel led me through turns I never would have chosen. Left, straight, right, right again, then into a hallway where half the lights were dead. He stopped before entering. I almost crashed into him. "What are you doing?" I whispered. He lifted one finger to his lips, then pointed down the dark hallway. At first I saw nothing. Then one of the lights flickered, and for less than a second, I saw a shape crouched near the wall. Not the tall thing. Something smaller. Something folded. Like a person sitting with their knees against their chest. But its knees bent the wrong way. Daniel slowly pulled me back. "Wrong hall," he whispered. We backed away. The thing in the darkness didn't move, but I could feel it watching. That was when I realized Daniel knew this place. Not completely. Nobody could know a place like that completely. But he knew enough to survive. And that made me trust him. Maybe too fast. But when you wake up in hell, the first person who knows where to step starts looking like an angel. We found a small room after what felt like hours. It wasn't really a room, more like a break in the walls. A square space with no furniture. one flickering light, and a carpet stain in the corner shaped almost like a handprint. Daniel sat down first. I stayed standing. I couldn't stop looking at the entrance. "How long have you been here?" I asked. Daniel rubbed his face. "I don't know." "What do you mean?" "I mean, I don't know." He looked up at the ceiling. "There's no day, no night. Your phone dies. You sleep when your body shuts down. You wake up somewhere that looks the same." He looked at me. After a while, time stops being useful. I sat across from him. "What is this place?" Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, "The backrooms." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because I had heard of it. Everyone had. A creepy internet thing. Endless yellow rooms. A place you fall into by accident. But hearing him say it there, inside it, made my stomach drop. "No," I said. Daniel stared at me. "Yes." I shook my head. "That's not real." He leaned closer. "Then where are we?" I didn't have an answer. The buzzing lights filled the silence. Then, from somewhere far away, we heard it again. Dragging. Daniel stood up immediately. "We can't stay." "It found us?" "It always finds sound." I stood too fast and got dizzy. Daniel caught my arm. "Listen to me," he whispered. "If you see it far away, don't stare. If the lights flicker, move. If you hear it breathing, don't speak. And if you hear someone calling your name..." He stopped. I waited. "What?" Daniel looked toward the hallway. "Don't answer." I wanted to ask what he meant, but then the dragging stopped, and the silence after it was worse. Daniel grabbed my shoulder. "We go now." We left the room and moved deeper into the maze. I kept close behind him, closer than I wanted to admit. Every hallway looked the same, but Daniel watched details I hadn't noticed. A missing ceiling tile, a water stain, a section of wall where the wallpaper bubbled. He used them like signs, like warnings. Then he stopped again. This time he crouched. I crouched too. Ahead of us, the hallway opened into a larger space. A wide room full of support pillars. Yellow pillars, yellow carpet, buzzing lights. But something was different. There were marks on the walls. Scratches. Thousands of them. Some looked random. Some looked like words. I moved closer. Daniel grabbed my sleeve. "Don't." But I had already read one. It said, "He is not your friend." I turned to Daniel. He stared at the wall, expression empty. "People lose their minds down here," he said quietly. I looked back at the words. There were more. "Don't follow him. He brings it. He knows the door." My throat went dry. "Daniel." He didn't look at me. "That's what this place does," he said. "It turns you against the only people who can help you." I wanted to believe him. And honestly, I did. Because the alternative was worse. The alternative was that I had been following a stranger through an impossible maze, and the walls were warning me about him. Then one of the lights above us popped. Darkness swallowed the far side of the room. Daniel's head snapped toward it. "Run." This time he didn't care about being quiet. We sprinted. Behind us, something screamed. Not loud like an animal. High, broken, almost human. The carpet dragged under my shoes. My lungs burned. Daniel was faster. He kept looking back, making sure I was still there. The lights flickered harder. Every time they went dark, the thing behind us got closer. Light. It was far. Dark. It was closer. Light. Closer. Dark. Closer. Then the lights went out completely. Daniel grabbed me and shoved me sideways. We slammed into a narrow opening between two walls, a gap barely big enough for both of us. He clamped a hand over my mouth. "Don't breathe loud." I heard it pass. Not running anymore. Walking. Right outside the gap. Its breathing was wet, slow, like it was enjoying this. I could see part of it through the crack. A long arm, gray skin, fingers dragging across the wallpaper. One finger stopped right beside my face, separated from me by less than an inch of wall. My eyes watered from trying not to blink. Then the thing leaned closer and whispered in Daniel's voice, "Ethan." My stomach dropped. Daniel's hand pressed tighter over my mouth. The thing whispered again, "Ethan, come out." It sounded exactly like him. Exactly. Not a recording, not a mimic. Like Daniel was standing outside the wall. But Daniel was beside me. His hand was shaking. For the first time since I met him, he looked scared. Really scared. The creature stayed there for a long time. Then, slowly, it moved away. The dragging sound returned. Farther, farther. Gone. Daniel didn't remove his hand until the lights came back. When he did, I sucked in air. "What was that?" I whispered. Daniel looked at me. "That's how it hunts." With voices? With trust. We stayed in that gap until my legs cramped. Then Daniel led me out. Neither of us spoke for a while, but I kept hearing that whisper in my head. My name. In Daniel's voice. "Ethan, come out." And for the first time, I wondered how long Daniel had really been down there, and how many people he had helped before me, and how many of them made it out. We kept moving. The halls changed slowly. The carpet got wetter, the wallpaper darker. Some of the lights buzzed lower than the others, almost like they were dying. Daniel said that was bad. Why? Because the darker it gets, the easier it moves. I looked behind us. Nothing. But the hallway felt longer than before, like it had stretched while we weren't looking. We found an old vending machine standing in the middle of a hallway. No wall behind it, no outlet. Just there. Its lights were still on. Inside were rows of water bottles, but every bottle had no label. Daniel walked up and pressed a button. Nothing happened. He pressed another. The machine hummed, then dropped one bottle. He gave it to me. I stared at it. Is it safe? Daniel smiled a little. Nothing here is safe. Then he took the bottle back, opened it, and drank first. After that, I drank too. The water tasted wrong, like metal, but I was too thirsty to care. Then the vending machine made another sound. A click. Daniel froze. The display changed. It didn't show a price anymore. It showed words. "Thank you, Daniel." I looked at him. His face had gone pale. What does that mean? Daniel stepped back. I don't know. But he said it too fast, like he did know. Then the vending machine display flickered again. Bring him closer. The hallway went silent. Even the lights seemed quieter. Daniel grabbed my arm. We're leaving. I pulled away. What is going on? We're leaving now. Daniel! He turned on me. For a second, his expression didn't look like fear. It looked like anger. Then it vanished. I'm trying to keep you alive, he said. I wanted to argue, but from somewhere behind the vending machine, we heard a soft laugh. Not Daniel's, not mine. A third voice. Low, dry, amused. Daniel didn't wait. He ran, and I followed, because what else was I supposed to do? We ran until the vending machine was gone, until the hallway changed again, until we reached a place where the walls had no wallpaper at all, just stained concrete. The buzzing was quieter there. Daniel said we could rest, but I didn't sit beside him this time. I sat across from him, watching. He noticed. You saw the wall, he said. I didn't answer. You saw the machine. Still, I said nothing. Daniel looked exhausted, more than before. They mess with you, he said. The walls, the sounds, the signs, everything down here wants you afraid. And you? He looked confused. What about me? Do you want me afraid? He stared at me for a long time. Then he said, No. But he said it softly, almost sadly, like he wished that was true. I wanted to stand up, wanted to walk away, but the second I imagined being alone again, my chest tightened.
That was the worst part. I didn't fully trust him anymore, but I was more afraid of losing him. Daniel seemed to know that. He stood up and adjusted his backpack. There's a place I've been trying to reach, he said. What place? A door. I looked up. You found an exit? Maybe. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know if it was real. And now? He looked down the concrete hallway. Now I think we're close. That one sentence changed everything. Close. To a door. To a way out. To home. Suddenly, every warning felt smaller. Every doubt got pushed down. Because hope is dangerous down there. Hope makes you ignore things. Hope makes you follow. And that's exactly what I did. I followed Daniel deeper. The back rooms changed again. The yellow walls returned, but now they were stained with dark streaks. The carpet squished under every step. Somewhere above us, water dripped through the ceiling. But when I looked up, the tiles were dry. We walked for what felt like another hour. Then we heard music. Soft music. Old music. Like something playing from a radio in another room. Daniel stopped so suddenly I almost bumped into him. What? He shook his head. We don't go that way. The music came from the left hallway. It sounded warm, safe, human. I stepped toward it. Daniel grabbed me hard. Don't. What if someone's there? There isn't. You don't know that. His eyes locked on mine. Yes, I do. Then the music stopped, and a woman's voice called from the left hallway. Ethan? I stopped breathing, because it was my mother's voice. Not close, not loud, but perfect. Soft, scared, calling for me. Ethan, honey? I pulled against Daniel. No! Daniel held me tighter.
It's not her. The voice came again. Please, I'm lost. My eyes burned. I knew it couldn't be real. I knew that. But it sounded like her. It sounded exactly like her. Daniel stepped in front of me. Look at me. I couldn't. I stared past him, down the left hallway. Something moved in the dark. A shape. Not tall this time. Small. Human-sized. It took one step into the light. And for half a second, I saw my mother. Then the light flickered, and her face opened into something that was not a face at all. Daniel dragged me backward as I screamed. The thing lunged, not like before. This one was fast. Its hands slapped the carpet. Its head twisted sideways, and it kept using her voice. Ethan, wait. We ran. Daniel shoved me through turns. Right, left, straight, duck. The thing scraped along the walls behind us, still calling my name, still sounding like her. I hated it for that. I hated that place for knowing her voice. I hated myself for almost following it. Daniel pulled me into another hallway and slammed me against the wall. Quiet! The thing rushed past the corner, missed us, kept going. Its voice faded.
Ethan. Then it was gone.
I slid down the wall. Daniel crouched beside me. You okay? I laughed once. A broken laugh. No. He nodded. Good. I looked at him. What? If you think you're okay down here, you're already dead. I didn't know what to say to that, so I said nothing. He sat beside me. For a while, we just listened to the buzzing. Then Daniel said something strange. She sounded real. I turned to him. What? Your mom. I stared. I never told you it was my mom. Daniel didn't move. Neither did I. The buzzing lights filled the space between us. Then he said, You said it while we were running. No, I didn't. He looked at me. Calm. Too calm. Maybe you did and forgot. I stood slowly. Daniel stood too. For a moment, I thought he was going to do something, but he just looked tired again. Ethan, he said quietly, this place gets in your head. I wanted to believe him. Again. That became the pattern. Fear him, need him, doubt him, follow him. Over and over, until I couldn't tell if he was saving me or leading me. Eventually, we found the red light. At first, I thought I imagined it. A faint red glow at the end of a long yellow hallway, different from everything else. Daniel saw it too. He stopped walking. His whole body went still. That's it, he whispered. The hallway stretched ahead of us. At the end was a metal door. Old, rusty, out of place. Above it was a small red exit sign. The letters flickered weakly. Exit. I almost cried. I actually almost cried. After everything, there it was. A way out. I started walking. Daniel grabbed me. Wait, I snapped. No, no more waiting. Ethan, no, I'm done. I'm going home. Then the lights behind us went out. One by one. Click, click, click. Darkness rolling toward us, and inside that darkness, something screamed. The tall one. The first one. The one that had been following us from the beginning. Only now, it wasn't walking. It was running. Daniel shoved me forward. Go! We ran for the door. The red light flickered above it. The exit sign buzzed louder than all the others. Behind us, the creature hit the walls as it ran, its arms dragging, its breathing turning into this horrible laughing sound. I reached the door first, grabbed the handle, pulled. Nothing. Locked. No, no, no! Daniel slammed into the door beside me. Together! We both pulled. The metal groaned. The creature got closer. Again! Daniel screamed. We pulled harder. The door opened an inch. Cold air spilled through. Real air. Not damp, not stale. Cold. Fresh. I could smell rain. Rain. I started sobbing. The creature was almost on us. Daniel shoved his shoulder into the door. It opened wider. Just enough. Enough for one person. Daniel turned to me. His face was covered in sweat. His eyes were wide. Go. What? Go! What about you?
He looked behind us. The creature was right there. Tall, thin, smiling. Daniel pushed me toward the opening. I'll hold it. I grabbed his hoodie. No. For 1 second, he smiled. A small, sad smile. Almost human. Then he said, "You have to trust me." And I did. That was my mistake. I slipped through the door, fell hard onto cold concrete. The door slammed shut behind me. The buzzing stopped. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was silence. Real silence. I lifted my head. I was in an alley. Night sky above me. Rain falling lightly. Brick walls, trash cans, a street lamp. The real world. I was out. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I turned back to the door. But there was no door. Just a brick wall. Daniel? Nothing. I stepped closer, pressed my hands against the brick. Daniel! No answer. Only rain. Only the city. Only freedom. Then behind me, a voice said, "You made it." I froze. Every muscle in my body went cold, because I knew that voice. Slowly, I turned around. Daniel stood under the street lamp. Dry. Not a drop of rain on him. His hoodie wasn't torn. His face wasn't scared. He was smiling. Too wide. Way too wide. Daniel? He tilted his head, the way the creature had tilted its head. Then he spoke again. But this time, it wasn't his voice. It was mine. You have to trust me. The street lamp above him flickered. The brick wall behind me turned soft. Yellow spread across it like mold. The rain stopped. The alley stretched longer. The concrete under my feet became carpet. Wet carpet. The buzzing returned. Low at first, then louder. 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 Daniel stepped closer. Only he wasn't Daniel anymore. Maybe he never was. His smile split wider. And in my voice, he whispered, "Thank you for opening the door." I turned to run, but the alley was gone. The street was gone. The sky was gone. I was back in the yellow halls, alone. No door, no exit, no Daniel. Just the buzzing lights. And far down the hallway, footsteps. Slow, steady, coming closer. Then my own voice called from the dark. "Ethan?" Finally.
Someone else.
Imagine if you started noticing the same person everywhere you went. Not just once, but every day, every night, standing still, watching. Tonight we're going to tell a story about a teenager named Ava and the stranger who followed her home. Ava first noticed the man on a Tuesday afternoon. School had just ended, and the sky was already turning gray. She walked alone, earbuds in, hood up. At first, nothing felt wrong. Cars passed, a dog barked, leaves dragged across the sidewalk. Then Ava saw him, a man standing across the street near a bus stop. Not moving, no phone, no bag, just standing there. Ava only looked for a second, but the man was already looking at her, directly. She kept walking. A few minutes later, she turned onto Birch Street. That's when she heard footsteps behind her. Slow, steady. Ava glanced back. The man was behind her now. Same coat, same cap, same stillness. Her stomach tightened. She turned left. The man turned left. She crossed the street. The man crossed too. Ava pulled out her phone. "Yeah, I'm almost home," she said loudly. "Like 2 minutes away." The footsteps stopped. When she looked back again, the man was gone. Ava didn't slow down until she reached her house. She shut the door quickly, locked it, and stood there for a second, listening. Nothing. Just silence. 10 minutes later, from her bedroom window, she saw him again, standing across the street, under the streetlight, facing her house, staring at her window. Ava shut the blinds, but her hands were shaking now. That night, she told herself it was over. But before going to sleep, she checked the window one more time. The man was closer, standing right across from her house, not hiding, not moving, just there. The next morning, Ava left earlier than usual. She took a different route through the park. It was empty, quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every sound feel louder. Then she heard it. A whistle, 3 soft notes. Ava froze. Ahead, past the trees, the man stood there, closer than before, and this time, he took a slow step forward. Ava turned immediately and walked the other way. Her pace quickened, then quickened again. By the time she reached the main road, she was almost running. She didn't stop until she saw other people. At school, she found Tyler near the entrance and told him everything. He didn't laugh this time. He looked past her toward the street. "Is that him?" Ava turned. Across the street, behind a row of parked cars, the man stood there again, watching the entrance, watching her. Ava stayed close to people for the rest of the day. Every time she looked outside, she expected to see him. Sometimes she thought she did, but when she looked again, he was gone. By the final bell, she wasn't taking any chances. Tyler walked with her. They took back streets and alleys, cutting through neighborhoods instead of using the sidewalks. For a while, nothing happened. No footsteps, no whistle, no sign of him. Tyler even started to relax. "Maybe he's done," he said. Ava didn't answer. Then Tyler stopped walking. "What the hell?" Ava followed his eyes. At the end of the alley, blocking the exit, the man stood there, closer than ever before. Not across the street, not behind them, right in front of them, waiting. Tyler whispered, "Go." They ran. Their footsteps echoed off the walls as they sprinted back the way they came. Ava didn't look back. She didn't need to. She could feel it. He wasn't chasing them. He didn't have to. They didn't stop until they reached a corner store. Inside, everything felt normal again. Bright lights, people talking, a cashier scanning items, a kid arguing with his mom. Safe. Or at least, it felt that way. Ava looked out the window. Across the street, the man stood beside a mailbox, closer than before, watching her. That night, Ava told her mom everything. Doors were locked, windows checked twice, the police were called. They said they would patrol the area. For a few hours, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Then, at 2:13 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text appeared. Nice room. Ava's heart dropped. Another message came through. Blue curtains. Ava slowly looked toward her window. There was a small gap in the blinds, just enough to see in. Something moved outside. A shape, shifting slightly, then gone. Police searched the house, the street, the backyard. Nothing. No footprints, no sign of anyone. The next day, Ava stayed home. By lunch, it almost felt like it was over, like maybe the police scared him off. Then the house phone rang. Her mom answered. She didn't say anything at first. Then her face changed. She slowly put the call on speaker. Silence. Then breathing. A voice whispered, "Why didn't Ava come to school today?" Her mom hung up immediately. That night, Ava went into her room and froze. Something was different. Her desk. There was something on it. A folded piece of paper. She hadn't left anything there. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a drawing. Her house. Her bedroom window circled in red. Under it were 5 words. "I know the way in." They left that night. No bags packed, no planning, just left. They stayed with family across town. For a few days, nothing happened. No calls, no texts, no sign of him. Ava finally started to sleep again. Then one night, she went into the bathroom after a shower. The mirror was fogged. She wiped it with her sleeve and stopped. Words were written across it. "You should have stayed." From the hallway, she heard it. A whistle. 3 notes. Ava slowly stepped out of the bathroom. At the end of the hall, the man stood there. Inside the house, closer than ever before. He raised one finger. Shh. Ava ran. After that, they moved again. New city, new house, new routine. No one knew where they were. For weeks, nothing happened. No sightings, no messages, nothing. Ava started to feel normal again. Until one night, her phone buzzed. A notification. Not a text, not a call, a photo. Unknown sender. She opened it. Her house, taken from outside. Her window circled. Another image came through. Inside her room, taken from the corner. While she was sleeping. Ava's chest tightened. Then the final message appeared. "You left your window unlocked." Ava slowly turned toward her bedroom door. It was slightly open, just enough to see darkness in the hallway. Then she heard it. A whistle. 3 soft notes. From inside the house. Ava didn't scream. She didn't move. Because she already knew. He was closer than ever. Ava didn't move. She stared at the door. The gap didn't change. The hallways stayed dark. For a second, she thought maybe she imagined it. Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. She didn't want to open it, but she did. It was a photo. Her bedroom door. From the hallway. Taken just seconds ago. Ava's chest tightened. She slowly looked back at the door. It was still slightly open. Another message appeared. "Don't turn around." Ava froze. Her breathing got shallow. Every instinct told her to run. But she couldn't. Not yet. Then, a quiet sound. Behind her. Not from the hallway. From inside the room. Ava's eyes widened. She hadn't heard the window open. She hadn't heard anything. Another message. Too late. Ava spun around. Nothing. Her room looked exactly the same. Bed, desk, closet, window, all normal. But something felt wrong. The closet door. It was slightly open. Ava didn't remember leaving it like that. Her phone buzzed again. She didn't even want to look. But she did. A video this time, already playing. It was dark, shaky, breathing in the background. Then the camera slowly turned. It was her room. From inside the closet. Ava dropped her phone. The closet door creaked, slowly, opening wider. Ava backed away. Her legs felt weak. Her heart was pounding so loud it drowned everything out. Then, a hand. Long, pale, reaching out from the darkness inside. Ava screamed. She ran for the door, threw it open. The hallway was empty. She ran downstairs, screaming for her mom, for anyone. Lights turned on, doors opened. Her mom rushed out. "What's wrong?" Ava couldn't speak. She pointed upstairs. Her mom went up with her, slowly, carefully. They checked the room. The window was closed. The closet was empty. Nothing inside. Just her phone on the floor, still playing the video. But something had changed. The angle. The video wasn't from inside the closet anymore. It was from behind Ava, watching her, standing right where she had been, right behind her. Her mom grabbed the phone. The video ended. Another message appeared. "I told you not to turn around." That was the last night Ava ever slept in that house. They didn't just move again, they disappeared. New names, new numbers, no social media, no contact. For a long time, nothing happened. No messages, no photos, no sightings. Ava started to believe it was over. Until a year later. She was in a grocery store, bright lights, people everywhere, normal. She reached into her pocket for her phone and found something else. A folded piece of paper. Her hands started shaking. She didn't remember putting anything in her pocket. She opened it. A drawing of her, standing in the store, right where she was, and behind her, a tall figure, wearing a gray cap. She turned around. Nothing. Just people shopping, talking, walking past her. Normal. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One final message. "You're getting harder to find." Ava left the store immediately. She didn't tell anyone, because she already knew. He was never gone. He was just waiting, watching, for the right moment. And this time, he was closer than ever.
If you made it this far, you're either brave or you didn't notice something watching you. Those were 4 stories, but for some people, they never really end. The skinwalker that got inside, the thing in the back rooms, the stalker who never left, and whatever was waiting in that school. Which one stayed with you the most? Let me know in the comments, and tell me what you want to hear next. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. And if you don't want to be alone the next time you hear something at night, subscribe. I'll be here. More stories coming soon.